Well, I say every day it's a getting closer to taking a bath with my fucking toaster.
We're not qualified.
Explorers in the further regions of experience.
Did you not listen?
Then the hell with you.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to episode 89 of Screaming Into the Void, the show where we talk about whatever the hell we feel like. My name is Samuel the Infamous, and with me is my co-host, Devil Made Me Do It. How you doing, man?
Howdy. Happy to be here.
Good deal, good deal. Some of you coming in might have noticed that the intro has changed up a little bit. I've been trying some new stuff, flexing my my editing muscles, as it were. So let's not be dicks about that. Because I know it ain't perfect. It's a work in progress. There may be some minor changes happening. I like the overall way that it flows, though. So, you know. Also, assuming that we don't get copyright claim for any of that, but all of those clips are like less than like 6 seconds long. So,
Oh yeah, there's no way the algorithm will hit that. They're too short.
yeah. So, but yeah, just trying some new things out. You know, and kind of trying to go with the whole cosmic horror theme, obviously. So if you guys have not seen In the Mouth of Madness, John Carpenter film, it's part of the Apocalypse trilogy. Go watch it. It's awesome. But, you know, after the show. All that. So yeah, it's man, this week, especially the last couple of days, have been pretty heavy for news.
Oh yeah.
You've been following what's been going on over in Moscow.
Yeah. At first my big thought was, are they gonna try to make this like like false flag against like the Ukraine? Like try to get their people to, be more supportive of their war. But no, they straight out came and said, it's I guess people from ISIS or something but it
I
could be
mean,
somebody trying to
CIA.
set them up. Yeah, there's some questionable stuff about that. But yeah, it is Islamist terrorists that did it, and yeah, just out of the clear blue, just no real sign that there was like gonna be anything like that, and then just out of the clear blue, they start just slaughtering people in that place. Is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I was hearing too, was that that ISIS had claimed responsibility for it, but you know, ISIS claims responsibility for all kinds of things that are politically expedient, especially for the US.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like I'm sitting here, I was like, is this another Nord Stream, you know, but with dead people?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you guys haven't been paying attention out there, while it hasn't been officially confirmed, yeah, that was us in MI6.
Yeah. And which yeah, everyone was all like, yeah, no, the terrorists were able to get the kind of scuba gear they would need, trained to get all the way down there just to blow up, the thing like it has any issue with them. It just
Mhm.
there's easier ways to if you're going to attack a country than to attack their pipeline that's going across the bottom of the ocean. Like what they just did. So yeah, it was definitely some people who had the ability to take out a pipeline like that, and that's us, that's Britain, there's like what, maybe 8 or 9 countries that I could think of off the top of my head that would be willing to and
Yeah,
have reasons to take out the Nord Stream pipeline. It just so
yeah, particularly one country that's supposed to be above criticism, but I'm not gonna
yeah.
go that right at the top of this show. Uh, you know, where I know they're still listening. You know, um, but yeah, it's so that's kind of what this smacks of. This doesn't smack so much of like false flag as it is. You know, like they. Well, I mean, it kind of is false flag a little bit, right? It's just not false flag from the Russian state.
Yeah.
You know, like you know where the term false flag comes from.
No. I
Okay,
might have heard it, but I
so
don't remember if I did.
during the golden age of piracy, right? There were you had various different kinds of ne'er do wells out on the seas, like corsairs and buccaneers are actually two different things. Privateers, and anyway, if these guys went out and they got a letter of marque from a specific government, right? And this letter of marque was basically saying you have permission to do all the evil piratey things you want to, but you have to
Yeah,
do it to the
privateers.
enemies of us. Yeah. So they would do that. And so like a guy would get a letter of marque from say England, and then he'd go terrorize Spanish ships, right?
Hmm.
Uh and that sort of thing. And but they weren't necessarily English or, even necessarily loyal to England. They were just, mercenaries hired to do contract work. And I kind of get that feeling about like ISIS is kind of the letter of marque situation for, the CIA, for MI6, for I'm just going to say it, Mossad, you know,
Yeah.
and and all of that. And so like because like, when was the last time that you heard of ISIS taking credit for something?
Been a long time, but that's because they were so decimated. You wouldn't think that they would pop their head up till they had better numbers.
Yeah, we supposedly wiped them out.
Yeah.
you know so I don't know. It's to the citizens in Moscow who have died, who have lost people. I mean, you do have my condolences. I am sorry about that. Nobody should have to go through this. um this is the very definition of a terror attack. The whole idea is to attack the populace itself, to instill fear, and use that fear and that threat of violence, or just violence in this case, to enact some kind of socio-political change. And in this case, it's like, hey, let's focus on all the horrific terror attack at home, and maybe pull away some attention from what's going on with Ukraine.
Yeah. And the thing is it just seems kind of weird because I would get it if these people were diehard, like, they were part of either that group or they were part of the radical group and stuff. But like when they caught one of the guys and they were questioning him, now this could
Mhm.
also be a propaganda or whatever, because Russia has no problem, saying, oh, we could kill you easy or we could kill you hard. It depends on if you say what we want you to, type thing. Um, but he's seen there, he says that what happened was he got offered and given 250 rubles or 250,000 or whatever the hell it is, by imam that he follows on what was it? Was it Instagram? What was it? Uh one of the social media sites that he follows there, by one of his people who work for him. And that doesn't seem like an ISIS thing. They get their supporters to believe in what they want to believe in, and then they send them there with the money and stuff and whatever to accomplish a goal, like a mission kind of thing. This seems like some dude who might have had some radical ideas, who was all of a sudden offered money to do those radical things. And that seems more like you said, like maybe some, I don't know, government agency trying to backdoor an attack than ISIS doing it. And ISIS just is totally willing to take credit because it's like clout, so I tend to agree with what people are saying about that. Like I said, no proof yet, but it just seems more like that than ISIS actually wanting to go and pick a fight with Russia, especially when, like you said, where they're supposedly destroyed and stuff. If they're down to just a small number of people, would you want to go picking a fight with another army that could easily kill more of you? Like, after the ass whooping, you want to take a little time before the second ass whooping, right? It just seems a
Mhm.
little odd to me. But
Yeah. So Shadow, the specific target was a concert hall in a place called Crocus City, which is a district, I think a specific district in Moscow. I don't know exactly the details on this. So like this, the story is changing as we speak. So I don't have all the details on this, but and I'm not even pulling up pictures and stuff because I'm not sure what information we're getting is accurate.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you can't necessarily even the trustworthy news sources may not be getting accurate information. So
Yeah.
you know,
And it's like you said, one, it takes away from the Ukraine thing, so it's a distraction, but also this has
mhm,
these things can have devastating effect on economies. Look, after 9/11, people stopped going to baseball games and stuff like that because they're all like, is that going to be the next target? Large groups are the target, so people stopped going to places where there were large things. So if the nightlife or concerts or whatever, if they think they're now a threat, people stay home. They So it can actually hurt your economy. The kind of, people spending money out there when they
mhm.
do these things. It scares people away. So could be just trying to
Yeah.
hurt Russia with their economy too, tank their economy.
Well, it's kind of like, I mean, you know how we get threats for the Super Bowl every year,
Yeah,
kind of thing, but it never actually happens.
yeah,
It's
and we
because
don't hear
the
about it.
Super Bowl, yeah, it was because the Super Bowl generates fuckloads of money for the economy,
Yep,
right? There's billions in advertising and tickets sold and concessions, merchandise, all of that
plane
stuff.
tickets. Yep.
Lot of generates a ton of money. It moves a lot of money around. It's very good for the economy. As much as I fucking hate the Super Bowl, because and that it has more to do with the fact that I don't really like American football at all. But I understand what that is, and that's the reason that we're never seeing it get attacked. Because most attacks on American soil have been either from American extremists, the fuck was his name, Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City, for example.
Yeah.
You know, which Shadow, I realize you're probably way too young to remember that because I was a boy at the time. Uh, but something like that, or you get places like the Twin Towers in New York City and the Pentagon, right? The two places that were attacked were a financial district that had direct ties to worldwide stuff, but they didn't go after where people would be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, over 2,000 people died that day there. But, like if they had hit Times Square, for example, or Madison Square Garden, or, Broadway, or the theater district or any of that stuff, they would have killed a lot more people.
Oh yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah.
And if bodies was the goal, that would be the way to go. But that's not what they're doing. They're trying to generate outrage without damaging too much of the economy. And so that's entirely possible that the FSB over in Russia is attempting to do the same thing here, except that like they did attack because I know people are talking about like, oh well, FSB, they could have recruited, ISIS without ISIS knowing it to do this and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, that is possible. They're spies. Sure, that could happen. The thing is I don't think that they're so callous about the loss of their own citizens that they would necessarily attack a public entertainment venue filled with people, right?
Yeah.
It would have been something like the Kremlin, or a government building or something like that. If this were more of a false flag kind of thing, on their end anyway. And so I tend to think that this was, if ISIS had anything to do with it, they were directed by non-Russian sources. I don't think Ukraine has that kind of fucking pull outside of, Washington, D.C. But, yeah, it could have absolutely been like, the CIA or MI6 or what have you, just to, kind of hurt Russians, to force
Yeah.
them to withdraw a little bit, which is what it seems to me. And again, speculation here. None of us know what's really going
Yeah.
on. Only what we've been able to piece together. So,
Yeah.
but it's a shame though. Like why is it that every time governments have a problem with each other, a bunch of fucking people have to die who have nothing to do with that?
Yeah, that's exactly the innocent people who are just trying to live their life and stuff are the ones that get sacrificed to these government games, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shadow, I would agree with you, except that Russian organized crime are all ex-KGB. They're
Yeah.
more precise than this. They're not this messy.
Yeah. This was either by purpose or by just it actually being was really kind of just seemed thrown together. Like I said, these
Mhm.
guys got the guns given to them and they were said, go into this place and kill as many people as you can. That's what the dude said. He said, I was just told to go in and kill as many people as I could. That doesn't seem very, uh, coordinated and well done.
Mhm.
Uh, Especially because, like I said, there's it always surprises me, but there's so many better ways to do it. Like you could have shot all the people, right? They are all scared. They're huddled down. They're freezing up. Then, as you're running out the door, throw a couple Molotov cocktails in there, and they wouldn't be able to get out. You'd got 4 times the numbers, like, it just I don't know. If you're being smart about it, people can be very proficient at killing,
Mhm.
extremely. This doesn't seem very efficient. This seems like they told them to go in there, so they went in there, shot as many people as they could, and ran out and ran away, so
Yeah, and then, with the fire and everything, they're just it seems like they were told to make as big a splash as possible. That's not really the Russian mob style.
yeah.
You know, they would prefer to pay you off, and if failing that, ice you out and pay off the next guy, but they're not gonna make a big spectacle of it because A, that draws too much fucking attention, and B, it's inefficient.
Yeah. They have no problem if they wanna kill one guy, killing 5 guys so that you don't see the one guy amongst them, but that's a big different than a full out slaughter like it's been with this many people, because then you have public outrage, you have people saying, "We want something done," and that is a lot harder to cover up and keep yourself out of it, so I don't think it would
Yeah.
they would be that
I mean,
idiots.
it's entirely possible too that this could have been if ISIS hadn't come forward and said what they did. This could have been, like a local anarchist group or something like that because it's not. It wouldn't be the first time something like that's happened in Russia. But again they would have to be young. They would have to be inexperienced kids because this is messy and unprofessional.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing you see with the I mean, maybe with the missile strike, sure, but that's not what this was, you know. So yeah, it is concerning because more shit like that's coming to our soil too, and
Yeah.
probably soon, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's a good point too, Suka. The Islamic State guys, they do have a thing about martyrdom, and as a matter of fact, most martyr type Islamists, excuse me, they really look down on people who aren't willing to martyr themselves. It's considered cowardly among them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is interesting. That you know,
Yeah. I don't know.
but that's the big splash headline that kind of took over the news cycle. I don't
Yeah.
know. I hate to see people die
Well, it's like I
for no
said,
fucking
it's
reason. That's just what a waste.
yeah, and like I said, it's one of those things we probably will never know the whole truth. Uh, Hopefully, more does come out, but like I said, if it is one of the government organizations, they're really good about covering their footprint a lot of time. So yeah, we might never know, but yeah, it sucks that the innocent people had to die for whatever political reason it is. If it is just terrorist things, then when are we gonna just squash that shit completely? I don't know.
Mhm.
Like, I'm all for it. I just like straight up telling one of these countries if you let terrorism propagating your country to the point it affects the outside world, we're just gonna glass you. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. There has been some weird shit that's come out though too. This apparently was shared with U.S. embassies in Russia, and like a few days before this happened, like they had foreknowledge.
Yeah.
See if we can bring it up here. Yeah. Like they, it. And I'm not saying that. Hey, maybe they got a heads up from Russia.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we heard this thing. Or maybe the intelligence networks are actually doing their jobs. I don't know, but sometimes you see this stuff come out beforehand, and you're just like, fuck, what did they know that nobody else did before this happened? Right? Why are we only finding out about this now after the fact? This memo. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Seems suspicious.
I think so. I think it's suspicious as hell. But seeing as how we don't have more information than that at the moment, we'll probably leave that one lie where it is. So, oh, hey, Gal got back to me. Oh, she has apparently slept in. I would give her shit, but I have almost also slept in before the show started in the past. So,
well, after all the drinking last night, I don't blame her at all.
yeah, no, not at all. So, Devil, what? I know you probably don't rock with these guys any more than I do, but you're aware of like the extreme red pill MGTOW movement, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't particularly care for those people myself because I think that it's, feminism, the same kind of evil feminism that's been eating at our country, just from the other angle.
Yeah.
That's been my general take on it. But so after the Me Too movement happened in here in the States, I did read an article that said hilariously that that the movement started in 2004 or 5, and maybe it did, but none of us heard about it until like 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
But it did cause some, how do I say this? It did cause a reactionary kind of thing around the world. A lot of other countries started up similar movements. In particular, the one that we're bringing up here. Hold on just a second. Shadow. No, they're yeah, I see the sarcasm there. Knock it off. Is the 4B movement out of South Korea, which is actually becoming a bit of an existential threat to South Koreans' existence. So essentially what it is, the 4Bs are I don't speak Korean, so they're all in here. The 4 principles. Bihan, no to heterosexual marriage. Bichulsan, no to childbirth. Beyonce, or Beyonce, I don't know, it looks like Beyonce to me. No to dating, and bisexual, no to heterosexual sexual relationships. So those are the 4 Bs. And essentially it's MGTOW for women in South Korea. Now, the difference between what we're seeing in the States, where people of both sexes have been relatively free for, a very long time, women in Korea are not. Generally speaking, they do get treated like dirt. They do go through a lot of shit that our women don't see here in the States. Like most of the Western impression of like South Korea is that everybody's happy and smiley and looks like they came out of a fucking anime or were in a K-pop group or some shit like that. And for the dudes Mostly that's true, but for the women, it's generally not. And so women there have gotten sick of being treated like shit.
Yeah.
And I'm talking real, actual misogyny here, not the made up bullshit that we get accused of every day in the States. And I mean, did you
Yeah.
know that during the Korean War, they would force women to walk down roads to check for landmines,
Oh shit.
make sure it was safe for the men? You know, I
That's
mean, like
fucked up.
it's super fucked up, right? And so
Yeah.
they're just swearing off Korean men altogether. And the Korean men, of course, are just like, all right, whatever, we'll just go to the Philippines and get a wife there, or some shit like that. Which, as Larry pointed out to me the other day, is monumentally stupid if they think they're going to treat a Filipino woman the same way that they'll treat a Korean one, because the Filipinos are not docile at all. But the problem is that Korea has the lowest birth rate on fucking planet Earth right now.
Yeah. Like
This
God,
is gaining
I know it's
steam.
bad here, but shit.
Yeah. And this movement is gaining steam. They estimate that there's between 5,000 practicing members of the movement and 50,000, which, is enough to put a dent in the baby making.
You keep cutting out at like key moments. I'll hear you talking, and then you'll just cut out. Is your internet
Shit.
wobbling on you again?
No, the internet's good. It's StreamYards.
Oh goddamn StreamYards.
Yeah. Fucking StreamYards. Fuck you. Fuck you so much. I love you. Anyway, yeah. What have I skipped over?
I heard the first half, and then there was a blank, and I think you said 50,000 or something. So all the stuff in between.
Yeah. 5 to 50,000 women are apparently advocating and promoting and participating in this walking away from Korean men altogether.
Jeez.
And it is growing. And the only reason that, I mean, this came up, somebody brought this up to me on Twitter the other day, and I was like, fuck, I don't know what the 4B thing is. So I started looking into it, and it's pretty hyper feminist, but it's also going to kill the South Korean race.
Yeah.
Because they ain't having babies anyway. So it's just, I don't know. It's just, it struck me as something kind of mildly interesting. But oh yeah, here it mentions the Korean War with the landmines. Now this article was written by somebody who's in favor of this, so keep that in mind. Like they talk about how abortion was illegal in most circumstances between 1953 and 2021, because South Korea is a relatively conservative community, right? More so than most. Generally speaking, I mean, you still got K-pop. I don't know what the fuck that's about, but yeah. Squatch says StreamYard sucks, but Restream sucks totally differently. I have not tried Restream. I've been on a few Restream panels, but yeah, and it's something to maybe look into at some point. Well, Japan isn't depleted. Japan has a gene pool. The gene pool is just not doing anything. Like Japan could, in theory, recover if they started fucking now. They're not. But if they did, I mean, this is the reason that their government has bribed young men to go impregnate women, because they're not doing it. They're sitting in their homes, much like we are right now, in front of a fucking computer screen all day and refusing to go out and interact with the opposite sex. So nobody's having babies. And that's the big problem. It's like nobody's having babies in these countries. It's happening here too, but
yeah.
I don't know.
No offense to feminism, that shit needs to be outlawed. Like, I'm all for equality, I'm all for all that shit, but this idea, it's not just that. The MGTOW movement, that shit came from it. It came from dudes just sick and tired of being demonized for being dudes and shit like that. Like I said, there's stuff that they maybe make sense on, stuff that they don't make sense on, but it still came from this idea that, men are bad. You know, if you're a dude and all that stuff is wrong, you're wrong. Uh, and all that came from feminism. Third wave
Mhm.
feminism destroyed so much. Like I said, it's damn terrorist organization. That's what the fuck they is.
Yeah, it is. It's and they hate it when I say this. They do, because they don't want this to be true at all. But modern feminism and all of the evolutions it's gone through, all of them, the modern feminism is a tool used by communists to break down a society, to undermine the strengths of a society, to weaken it. In conjunction with a bunch of other things, but it is one of among the many tools that have been deployed against the West. Um,
Yeah.
but the hardcore true believers, they don't want to believe that, except for the ones who are actually communist, and they're all for it. Uh, but it came around the same time that communism was introduced. It came in with the suffragette movement, which was not pioneered by women but by men. Uh,
Mm.
it most of the women were just like, no, we're good. We we have it pretty good. We don't want more. And but men made the suffragette movement possible. Men, did all these things, and the men who were pushing for that sort of thing did not have the best interests of women, men, or this country in mind, or any country in the West,
Yeah.
really.
What wasn't now? I might be wrong because, like I said, you know, I forget about a lot of stuff, but two, you hear stuff that might be wrong. But wasn't the suffragette movement here in America? Wasn't it pushed like largely in the southern areas because it was the southern who wanted to keep slavery around, wanted more votes, and so they tried to get where all the women would vote so that they would be able to, get the presidency and all that stuff. So it was like about essentially what they're trying to do with the migrants at this point, right? Find ways to get more votes instead of change more minds. Wasn't that the
Yeah,
case of it? Was pushed because I remember the suffragette movement, at least here in America, they were all about women getting the vote and all that stuff, but not black women, not other people. It was about them. Wealthy white women
mhm.
needed to vote, not every woman, So wasn't it like literally built as like kind of psyop, I guess you'd call it, from like the southern states to try to get more votes to help them?
I- in this country, I think that there are probably roots of it there, but no, the suffragette movement didn't gain any. I don't think they even called it the suffragette movement until
Yeah.
like the 1910s, 1920s, when it really gained traction and all that stuff. But it really began over in England. Um,
Yeah, I knew that.
like, yeah, like well before, and it was sort of transplanted during the probably prior to the Civil War. The idea of it was, but it would have been more of an East Coast like high class thing at the time than anything else. My guess would be you're probably right. There probably was a faction who latched onto that idea and tried to push it in the South for that exact reason. Sure, I don't think it was particularly successful at the time. It still would have been another like 80 some odd years before it gained any real power. But because I think women were granted the right to vote in 1920. I think it was 1920, federally. With an amendment to the Constitution. And the only reason I know that is because the first woman voter in America was actually in Laramie, Wyoming, 50 years before that in 1870. She wanted to vote and they let her do it, and nobody said boo about it or anything like that, but it wasn't constitutionally legal for women to vote at the time, and it wouldn't be for another 50 years.
Yeah.
So I forget what her name was. It was Louisa something, but yeah. Which, by the way, for anybody out there who is curious, uh, that's why Wyoming is called the Equality State. That's where the nickname comes from, was from that moment.
Oh, geez, I've never even heard they had that nickname. So it's news to me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like on half the calendars that are in Wyoming, they don't call it Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They call it Equality Day. Yeah, you still get the paid day off if you work in government or whatever, like I do. But yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, we're technically called the equality state. But nobody knows that because nobody fucking lives here. So, hey, Luke Astley, petticoat panel. I think that might be what you're referring to, Devil.
Yeah, I think that's what I've heard. Yeah, because like I said, you hear so much stuff, and that some of it's gonna be lost. But I could have sworn I heard something about that, and I was all like, oh well, that makes sense. Like I said, the Democrats have been doing this since the beginning. This, because that's what they did with the black community. That's why they moved, got all black people to move out of the South into cities and stuff, and ghettoized it and stuff, was strictly because they said, if we can't oppress them, if we can't put them back in chains, we'll just make them into a big voting block for us.
Right.
That so it when, but
so this article ends with a quote from a woman named Lena Young, or a professor. I don't think it says if it's a woman. Anyway, it says the patriarchal norms in South Korea, given its economic status and the educational level of its women, are so relentless that the resistance against it tends to be just as intense. Movements like 4B are a message of warning that women would boycott romantic relationships unless society and men change. The problem with that, I get wanting things to change for the better. That I don't have an issue with that. I do think that people should be treated equally under the law, regardless of whatever. If your plumbing's on the inside or the outside, or it used to be on the outside and now it's on the inside, well, whatever. I'll treat it equally under the law. But the fact is that men and women are not the same. We do not have equal responsibilities. We do not have equal abilities. There are things that and we say this over and over again, and I'm going to keep doing it till it sinks into the world at large. But women can do things that men cannot do. Men can do things that women cannot do. That is not going to change. You better make peace with that shit. But this message of warning, this whole boycotting romantic relationships, boycotting marriage, boycotting heterosexual anything. The problem is that this is so damaging long term, right?
Yeah.
That eventually you end up with a bunch of old people and no young people to replace them. One more generation and you're extinct. They're talking about protesting for better treatment, and if they don't get it, they will kill us all. It's a little extreme.
Yeah. It goes into the idea of what the globalists really want, right? Because you wouldn't want to kill off all the populists back in the old days, because they were the ones who were going to farm the potatoes and build your little widgets in the factories and stuff. So your little socialist utopia and one world government crap, they needed a lot of bodies. They needed those people. With the growing of the everything going to AI or mechanized or whatever the word is I'm looking for, you're not going to need people to grow those potatoes. You'll have machines to grow those potatoes. You'll have machines to build your widgets. So you don't need the big populace. So lower birth rates, the population of this world tanking, actually feeds into those globalist hands, because then it's less people who can fight against them. If you have billions of people in your country, that's a lot of people who can take up arms against you. But if you only have a couple 100 million, well, that's a lot easier to control. And like I said,
Mhm.
since you don't need the warm bodies no more, it doesn't matter if you're just ruling over 100 million or if you're ruling over 2 billion. You're still going to have the same power. You still have control. So that's why the you know World Health Organization, not them. What's Klaus Schwab's one? What's it called?
Yeah, that's
The
the WEF, the World
WEF.
Economic
That I
Forum.
always get all the acronyms and stuff mixed up. They're the ones who want this. They want birth rates to plummet. They want people to die off. They want a mass extinction type thing. Why? Because then they can take whatever's left and it's no problem to subjugate them and conquer them and put them under their boot. So yeah, this feminist agenda of let's demonize dudes and let's not have babies. Okay, all you're doing is feeding into somebody one day putting their boot on your neck. If you're still around when it happens, um, it's all part of their plan. All of this.
Yeah. And it does kind of play into that. We actually haven't been talking too much in recent weeks about the more insidious aspects of the globalist stuff. I mean, kind of in a sort of ancillary and peripheral way we have, but not directly. But yeah, that's precisely what it is. What better way to reduce the population than by convincing the population that it's their idea?
Yep. Exactly.
What better way to do that? I mean, you don't end up having to get any real blood on your hands. You don't have to get that involved. You just have to plant a few seeds, here and there. Those seeds will spread. They grow into ideas and they spread and they become movements. And, I mean, you help it all along a little bit, possibly with, experimental
Pokies.
mutagenic treatments, we'll say. That perfectly healthy people are dropping dead for no reason at all. You help it along with that, a little bit here and there, but that's not gonna, that's not viable. That's, in terms of long term thing. Obviously it didn't go as well, getting everybody to volunteer for that. I mean, hell, New York was offering free hamburgers with it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's so you have to attack it from different angles, and one of those angles is like, you're familiar with the Whatever podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, disclaimer on my side for those watching. I think Whatever podcast is trash TV. I think it's a spiritual successor and a lesser, more janky version of it that to Jerry Springer show. Yes, I'm that old. But I think it's trash TV. And yeah, you could argue that he's pointing out everything that's wrong and all that stuff, but I argue that he curates those guests and those points of view specifically to generate that kind of controversy. The problem is that podcast in particular, and others, there are others, but that one in particular has become so popular and so prevalent in the pop culture, and people like, and I shudder to say her name here because then she's going to end up in my feed again, Pearl Davis, or Fresh and Fit, or Abba and Preach, right? And I don't have anything personally against any of these people. I just think that they preach bullshit, um, in a lot of cases, and it serves to further divide men and women. And if you divide men and women, guess what they're not doing? They're not having babies. They're not propagating the species. There's no new generations forthcoming to replace them when they get old and they die, as we inevitably all will. And I think that things like Whatever podcast, however well intentioned Brian, the host, may be, and he may be very well intentioned, but it doesn't serve to do much besides highlight a problem that we all knew was happening anyway. And I think that that the controversy he generates, which is how he gets his clicks and his views, and I don't blame him for that. Do what you got to do, man. But it's not helping the actual social situation at all.
Yeah. Yep. You're not being a solution. You're just feeding the problem.
Yep. Hail Disney Sheepherder. Also, Shadow, have a good afternoon. Yeah, it's trash TV. You know, it's like going back in the 90s. You remember in the 90s when we had shit like Cops and Real Stories of the Highway Patrol and Jerry Springer and Montel Williams and
Yeah.
fucking Ricky Lake. uh, and all that and all of that was good for a laugh, but it was nobody took it seriously. People are taking whatever seriously. They're taking people like Andrew Tate seriously. And I'm not saying the man's never had a point. He has. But I don't think his intentions are good. Not really. You know.
Yeah.
Um I don't believe for a second that he's a good man. I do not get that impression off him. I do get kind of the slimy underbelly of a poisonous slug impression from him, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get what the appeal is of him. Yeah, I don't know why the guy's so popular. Uh, I mean, except to just like Jordan Peterson, he's speaking to a group that is desperate for people to listen to him, but that doesn't mean it's good for society to listen to him. You might desire that kind of conversation and stuff, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to have a good outcome. I think
Right.
we need to get back to the idea that has always been there, but somehow has been ignored because people are always saying it's to one extreme. Like guys before feminism, before the women's right movement, when they're like, "Oh, we're gonna burn our bras and shit," guys, every single guy was like, "We need to oppress women. These women need to be put in their places. We can't let them." That's not true. There are plenty of guys who are like, no, I think of my wife as my equal and stuff. In society, there may be, standards and things that I wouldn't approve of her doing, but no, I don't want my wife to be naked in the kitchen barefoot. I let her, when I'm talking about something, I don't mind her speaking up. But you don't hear about that. You just hear about that, like before the women's right movement, every single guy was all like, "Woman, don't give me lip," and that's just, I don't think that's how it was. So I don't know. It
Yeah, it isn't. It wasn't like that. Like there used to be a phrase that married couples would use when referring to their spouse, "My better half, my other half." Right?
Yeah,
It's the idea of marriage is that two people come together to create one life, right? And to be part of a larger whole, and this idea that like husbands subjugated their wives and all that. And I'm not saying that it's never happened, but especially in terms of I guess the Americas, I know there are instances of this. I know that there were times when things were not great between the sexes prior to now, but there were times when they were pretty good. Generally speaking, there are married couples who have been married together for 6, 7, 8 decades, and they're as happy today as they were when they said their vows. It's like it can work. And the fact that we're not highlighting more of that, we're not encouraging more of that, but instead we're encouraging people to go their own ways and to have nothing to do with the opposite sex except for the random fucking Tinder hookup, which, I mean, yeah, you get your rocks off, but it doesn't serve any other purpose than that, except maybe a paternity suit if you weren't careful,
well,
you know?
yeah. Well, it's okay. I'm trying to think about the best way, but the thing is this is another kind of the idea that we're told how history went, and we just accept it. It's another one of those things. I've said this before with the evil cop fallacy, right? That
Mhm.
all cops are racist, all cops are bastards. There's bad cops. There's no doubt about that. But the reason it was so easily for us to believe that, the reason that when the whole George Floyd thing was so easy to buy, that it was just this guy wanting to kill this innocent black man. The reason it was so easy for these things kind of just spread through our society is because we've been essentially taught that since childhood. I don't know how many of these cop shows that you think would be pro cop because they're a cop show have portrayed it. And so if you see it 1,000 times in a different show, when somebody says that's happening in real life, it's easy for you to digest it. The racist cop. Oh yeah, they're all there's so many cops out there that are racist. In fact, no, there's not. There's probably very few in comparison to the whole amount of cops. But it's easy for you to digest it because on Law and Order and on The Shield and on all those shows for years, that's what they've been feeding us. And they use the same thing in this. You see all these shows showing women as the victims of male girls are good and stuff. It's easy for women to then accept it when it's fed to them. A perfect example is spousal abuse. Actually, like 47% of spousal abuse is from women to men. But if you look at media, popular media, movies, TV, it's always the men beating the women. That's the episodes you're going to remember. That's the episodes they push. And there are many more of those episodes than ever the other way around, as few as there are. So when you think of spousal abuse, what's the first thing that comes to your head? Even though it's almost 50-50 between the two, it's that a man beats a woman.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, I've had friends who've gone through abuse from a woman. I've talked about it before, I think. So, but you just don't hear about it because society, the movies, the TV, all the the media that we're fed has literally been making us where we believe one thing and discount the other without question because we've seen it so many times on TV.
Yeah. That's true too. Like, you hear it, you hear the words, domestic dispute or domestic violence or things of that nature. You hear those words and you immediately assume that the man has just beaten the crap out of the woman. And and it happens, it does, but the numbers are a little bit more evenly split than we get told, like you're saying. Not to put too fine a point on it, I guess, but my ex-wife once put a plastic bag over my head,
Oh, geez.
you know, and it's not, I'm not harping on that. It's not looking for sympathy or anything. I'm just saying it happens. It does happen, you know. The fact is people need to learn to get along, period. There shouldn't be anybody hitting anybody else in a relationship. You should be a united front. You shouldn't be, having to force somebody to go along with it. It's one of the reasons that, while I know some people in the East are more pro arranged marriage and just learning to live with the person kind of thing. I think that real dating, courtship is actually important to get to know a person, to see if there's somebody who can complement you and not just like randomly hook up with somebody that you knocked up or, get forced into a marriage with somebody you don't know or any number of other things. It is important to get to know them first. And I don't believe that it takes necessarily, 9 months of dating to do that. You could get to know somebody pretty good in a couple of weeks at the most, but you should take at least that amount of time to see if it's even, viable, right? And so many people don't. They get knocked up in high school and they end up with the wrong person. They jump into a rebound relationship that turns out to be, disastrous or whatever. People lead with their genitals and with their hearts. They don't think with their brains. And I think that gets us into a lot of trouble too in terms of domestic violence.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's something you said is exactly how it is. You got to learn to get along. The fact is, men and women, they're always going to be men, they're always going to be women, and we have to be on this rock together. We have to learn to get along because guess what? It as much as we, as society, we sit there and say we need women for children. You need men too.
Mhm.
You need the milk, not just the shake. You got to have them both. Uh, as it would be kind of forward, but so yeah, you can't sit there and just disconnect the two, or we're never going to have it where, okay, this side of the world the women get, this side of the world the men get here. It's going to take a joint effort here, or our species is just going to die. So since
Mhm.
that's the case, since we have to be here, I don't know, let's find a way to work this shit out. Let's find a way that we both can, be good. Women get rights. No one's saying they shouldn't have them. No one's trying to take them away. But acknowledge that guys, with all of our flaws and all of our failures, still are necessity to society to run, and still are good generally. Um, and maybe we can like squash all this shit where guys are supposed to go their own way and women are supposed to say I'm not making babies no more, and maybe we could just get to where we actually just respect each other. It'd be weird concept, I know the left doesn't want that, but that's where the kind of answer to all this lies.
Right. And I think that the way we get there is to actually talk to each other,
Yep.
you know, like to openly talk to each other. I don't mean like, you know, you and I could be having a conversation and you're saying something and I'm sitting there and not hearing you because I'm formulating in my head the next thing that I want to say, kind of shit, which is the conversations that you mostly get between men and women in the West anyway these days. And that's why it never gets anywhere. Nobody's really listening to each other, right? But to actually communicate with each other, I think is the only way we're gonna bridge that gap. And yeah, guys, it's I know it sounds stupid. It sounds like I'm turning the show here into kind of a relationship advice thing, which I swore I would never do. But I don't think that that's the case. I think what I'm arguing for here is the salvation of our species, right? We If we cannot get along with the opposite sex, we are doomed as a species. There will come a day when the last of us breathes their last. I would rather that didn't happen in my fucking lifetime. You know, so yeah, we gotta get our shit together as a species, and remember that men and women are of the same species. You know, I wouldn't even go so far as to say, like Devil, you were saying that, with all of our flaws and everything, I would say that, yeah, it's fair to acknowledge that men have flaws, but we should also acknowledge that men have greatness in them too. We should acknowledge that while women are great, that they also have flaws. We should, be willing to see that not one of us is perfect. So
Yeah.
that's my thought on it. I apologize if you guys can hear my stomach. It started growling about 10 minutes ago and I can't get it to stop.
Yeah. Uh, I would notice that. So like, oh, he's hungry. Either that,
Yeah,
or you ate something you shouldn't have eaten. Either way.
it might be a little column A, a little column B. I had some Taco Bell last night. Anyway. So, but yeah, I don't know. So this 4B thing, the reason that it struck a chord with me is because I am familiar with the MGTOW movement, and on the surface, I don't disagree with a lot of their talking points, but my experience with a lot of the guys who are involved in that has been largely negative, to the point where they're not just going off to better their own lives before they find, because like the whole thing was just like, I'm going to build myself up, build my legacy, and then with luck, find somebody, with luck and determination, find somebody to share that with, down the road when I'm set up and I'm ready and capable of taking care of it. And I'm going to put aside all the high school, will she, won't she, bullshit over here, and just not deal with that while I go and build my little empire or whatever. I don't have an issue with that. What I have an issue with is a lot of these guys stopped doing that and then turned to just hating the other sex, and when I say this, like, obviously the first word that pops into mind is misogyny. I don't mean misogyny in the um general sense as it's used. I just mean that, like some of these guys are incels. Some of them are not incels, but they've been hurt so badly by one woman that they blame all women for it. And they are vocally venomous towards the opposite sex. And I see the same shit happening with fourth wave feminism on the other side. It's like, why do we need men at all? Let's just fucking get rid of all of them. And that attitude I find completely repulsive from either side. I have children myself, man. I don't want either one of those groups any fucking where near them. Because they're going to end up in a relationship with somebody, and they're going to end up taking out all that frustration, all that anger, and all that rage on that other person, whether they deserve it or not. And I would argue that nobody deserves that shit, especially if you're being targeted for something someone else may have done to this person in the past. It's like, this is going to sound kind of off color, and so I do apologize for offending any sense. But no, I don't fucking apologize for that. A woman who has been raped is horrifying. It is a tragedy, and I don't have the words to describe how awful that is. That is not something that should ever happen to anybody. But the woman who has been raped, who blames every single man for the actions of the one, I think that's the bigger tragedy. A man who has been, treated in a similar fashion, although it is hard to come up with like similes for this because, while rape does happen in men, it's not reported as often. It's not taken as seriously. But say, let's put an outlandish scenario out there. Say he falls for a woman and she takes him to a motel room and he wakes up in the bathtub with one of his fucking kidneys missing. Right? I would say that's a pretty horrifying violation of not only his body but his trust. Right? So he goes out and he blames every single woman in the world. He starts calling them organ harvesters. Right? And of course, most of them have no idea what he's fucking talking about because they had nothing to do with it. Right? Mm-hmm. That's just as bad. That's just as big a tragedy. So I just I don't know. I think we need to get past this, girls club, boys club thing, and start coming together as a single people again. And I think that's the only way forward. Yeah. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Love line, or whatever it's called, or was it Love Talk? What was that? When
it was with Dr. Drew.
Yeah,
and
Dr. Drew. Yeah,
that was
yeah. That used to be good. That used to be fun to listen to, because Adam Carolla mostly.
Yeah. So, hey, gal, where the hell are you? So, no, good to see you. Comment was about your hungry stomach, by the way. Got cut up now. Okay, good. Yeah, I try to not say things that are untrue to the best of my ability and my knowledge. So, yeah. But yeah, that's I don't know. Did you have any other thoughts on that particular topic? Because we do have another thing I do want to get to here.
No, we hit it all, I think.
All right. Well, speaking of Gal not being here, even though she's the one who alerted me to this, I'm gonna start publicly berating her and abusing her like a man does a woman. That's how we're gonna do this. Love you, Gal. So the Justice Department put out a tweet earlier this morning, talking about how they've got these things in the work. They're trying to put little loopholes and laws and shit in place to allow them to come and take guns from people preemptively before they actually do anything. People who may be considered a threat to themselves or to others. Minority Report kind of shit, like predictive outcome algorithm kind of shit.
Red flag laws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. and which not only is this 100% constitutional and illegal, but also fuck the Fed. I gotta say that right out. So this is the link that was attached to the tweet. Takes us to the Office of Public Affairs for the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ. Justice Department launches the National Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center. So you know what this is what this is reminiscent of to me. Like, before we get into this, if you see something, say something.
There's him.
Oh,
he cut out big time. Like, literally, I thought you the stream.
Nope. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, folks. What I was trying to say was that, if you see something, say something, or let us know if your parents have any communist tendencies, or I think that person over there might be a witch.
You're
there she
a
is.
bully. You're a bully.
But I love you.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm tired.
I get it. Yeah, you should be. It's a late night.
Yeah, it was a late night, but I didn't drink all that much. It's been a long day, just like getting the house adjusted to my brother's recovery stuff, that like he's not 100% essentially. So like my mom and I have to help him a lot with things. So it's just adjusting the house and stuff. So it's been a long day.
Yeah. No worries. Plus, all the drinking and carousing last night.
Yeah. I had maybe 5 shots, I think.
Yeah, you weren't smashed.
Yeah.
I could see you were
Tired.
Yeah.
That's been my last 2 weeks, but yeah. But it was fun.
It is good. Yeah, it was mostly fun for me because we came. Larry and I joined the chat after we got done with our stream, and Horror Amarada. If you're listening out there, Horror, I love you, and I love sheep, but I'm gonna do this anyway. Was so drunk that her avatar couldn't walk a straight line.
Yep. Yep. It was awesome.
And with some small text prompting from me in the chat, she went on this drunken tirade about how great Sheep Cidian's dick is. It was one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
I love at the end how she's all, "That's my dick."
Yeah, nobody else can have it. No one's gonna see it but me.
Sheep is just like, I don't want to kill myself right now.
Yeah, it was great. Oh man,
it's good times. But it's good to have you here, and that we are discussing now the topic that you brought to us. Do you have any swearing at the government you want to do? I cut out again, didn't I?
No.
Oh, okay.
Did you, Gal?
I forget that I'm on my phone, so StreamYards doesn't like me doing things in the background. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my bad. I do enough screaming at the government on a daily basis. I'm too tired for that right now. I don't got the energy. Fuck them straight to hell.
That works for me.
Yeah. The amount of times I've ranted on here against the government and their overreach, I'm sure everybody knows exactly how I feel about this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I believe I posted something to the effect of fucking traitorous Fed boys can come and take my arms if they think they're hard enough.
Yep. I kept mine nice and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of fucking retarded assholes is what they are. think that they can come and take anybody's guns just because a fucking angry ex-girlfriend reports some bullshit, or a family member got into a fight with another family member, or wants money from a family member, so they're going to take their guns away as like punishment. Like, that's all red flag laws are, and it's insane. And I hate everything to do with this goddamn administration.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I had some energy.
Yeah, I
Welcome
can
welcome
tell.
to my TED Talk. Or thanks for
Yeah.
coming too. That was the way to see. Nah.
No, you're good. You're good. I happen to agree. Fuck them all. The says here, the launch of the National Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center, which what are they going to call that? NERPORC?
I know, like what
That looks like NERPORC.
Yep.
That's like the worst acronym ever.
I laughed. I got a good chuckle out of it because it was such a long mouthful just reading in my head. And I'm like, so what's the acronym going to be for this? And I look at it and I'm like, what are they doing? They're that retarded? Like, did they actually let Biden come up with this? Like,
Well, that's the government.
like
Yeah.
I feel like what they did was like they come into his room while he's sitting in his wheelchair and they're just like, Mr. President, we need an acronym for this new overreach committee that we're doing and we don't want the people to know. He's like, your pork. And they're like, thanks, sir. And they tried to find some words to go around Nurpork.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. I mean, this is the kind of thing you can only come up with by committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only with
I hate committees.
government. Fucking retarded.
Oh, I've known some pretty retarded civilian committees. I bet
Yes,
they could have come up with
that's
it too.
true. Valid.
So, the launch of the NERPORC, because that's what I'm going to call it now. I'm just going to call it NERPORC because that's like they did this to themselves. Fuck them.
You should like
we'll
hashtag
provide-
it. Get it going.
Yeah.
Fuck the Nurpork.
We'll provide our partners across the country with valuable resources to keep firearms out of the hands of individuals who pose a threat to themselves or others, said Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. Yay, Merrick's back.
Fucking Garland, bitch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The establishment of the center is the latest example. You notice how he doesn't say the whole thing over again. Fucking
Mhm.
pussy.
Yep.
It's the latest example of the Justice Department's work to use every tool provided by landmark Bipartisan Safety Committees Act. Jesus Christ, guys.
Right.
The PSCA to protect communities from gun violence. Like, it's bad enough, right, that they put out like 15,000 page bills, right, with lawyer language in them so that the
Yes.
average person can't understand them.
At 2 in the
But they
morning.
can't- nothing's ever simple with these guys.
Mhm.
You know, when they name something and when they write something out, it's always got to be so drawn out. You know, like a sentence. Why use a sentence when a paragraph will do? You know.
Right. Well, it's like they have a word count. Like it's some fucking essay. Or it's just too many people needed a job to do.
Yeah.
They had to justify that they have a job. Like the reason for their job.
Yeah.
Like DEI
Look,
bullshit.
Journalists get paid by the word, but I'm pretty sure that most government employees are either salaried or hourly.
Yes, of course. But that's what it feels like. That's what all of these read like. And it's because they just want to put their Nurpork into it. They're fucking...
They're nerd-porking us.
I am
That's
here
gotta
for
be a
your
thing.
entertainment today, Sam.
I appreciate it. Like, God, the country just got nerd-porked. It's you know what? I tagged Obama in one of his bullshits that he said earlier today about
Big Mike.
Affordable Care Act being like the. Yeah, did you see that one?
I did.
I think I should redo that tweet. I should delete that one and redo it. But you know, it'd be like, you nerd-porked us like Big Mike nerd-porked you.
And then link to the fucking this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because I'm not wrong. I mean, the Affordable Care Act, despite the quote unquote stats he was providing, which are all
Mhm.
doctored,
Yep.
has fucked this country. Is continuing to fuck this
Absolutely.
country. He's like, oh yeah, and everybody said we wouldn't recover. We haven't, dumbass.
Yep.
Yeah. The only reason I was ever exempt from being fucking subjugated to that shit is because I don't make enough money to qualify. I'm below the poverty line. You know.
Yeah.
It's which we found out one year. The first year it passed, we were I was married at the time. My wife and I were very concerned because they had the clause in about exponentially increasing penalties if you don't sign up for some kind of government insurance or whatever, or you don't
Yep.
pay for your own. Obviously, if you don't have insurance, they were going to start. The IRS was going to start
Yep.
coming after you and your family. And so we were so worried about that because we couldn't fucking afford it. We couldn't afford his insurance. We couldn't afford regular insurance. We couldn't afford anything.
Mhm.
And so we called up our local IRS office and we told them what was up and they asked us a few questions and then they laughed in our faces and they said, "Don't worry about it. You don't make enough money for us to even look at you."
Right. It's such bullshit.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Fucking assholes at the IRS. But yeah,
Like it.
it's
God, and they just openly admit it like that. It pisses me off too. No, we don't
oh
care
yeah.
about you. You don't make enough for us to go after you. Like, and the thing is, even now, like, I'm going on a tangent about the IRS, but whatever. Like, now they've got more warm bodies to just come after everybody. So who knows if that still applies, Sam?
Mhm. Yeah,
Ugh.
I think somebody was trying to put a stop to that order for 87,000 new armed IRS agents, but it looks like that's going through at
Yep.
least for the duration of the current regime's term.
Mhm.
So yeah, get ready for that. This, by the way, that what I just said there about the 87,000 armed IRS agents authorized to use lethal force at their
Yep.
discretion
Yep.
ties directly into what I have up on the screen here.
Yep.
They're gonna come take your guns, so you can't shoot them first.
Yep.
You know, and then
You
they're
gotta
gonna
stop
take
the Civil
your
War before it happens.
yeah. Well, they're gonna try anyway.
Yes.
It's
I lost
not
all
gonna
mine
go
in a
well.
boating accident.
I got a couple of them, one in each hand. Go and take them, motherfuckers.
Not your
Yeah.
tentacles, God. We're talking about guns, dude.
When they show up, I'd be like, yeah, that last guy took him. Shit, you're late.
Mm.
You guys gotta communicate. He came by earlier, took all them.
Classic government. They don't communicate. You guys already came and took all my shit. God, can't you just figure things out?
Right. You know what I'm going to end up doing though, right? They're going to send one guy out. They always send like a scout or a vanguard out to, knock on the door and do their little pitch and shit like that. And then you turn them away and then they come back with at least one more and sometimes two more. And then each time you turn them away, they come back with more and more.
Mhm.
It's going to be a very Waco-esque situation for a lot of citizens.
Yeah.
And that sucks. It's horrendous. But what I'm going to do when they come to my door, right? The first guy, I'm not going to let leave. I'm going to make a sock puppet out of him.
I was going to make the
And,
comment that there's going to be a lot more rooftop Koreans that
Yeah.
might not have a drop of Asian blood.
I mean, I got scotch tape for the eyes, right? What? That's what we used to do when we were kids.
I just had a flashback to the 90s.
Best decade ever, folks out there listening. There hasn't been a decade before or since that comes close to the amount of freedom and awesome in this country as the 90s. But yeah, no, I'll make a sock puppet out of him, and then I'm gonna answer the. He'll be like Kermit the Frog. I'll have my tentacles up his ass, like moving his eyes and his mouth around a little bit. You know, do you guys ever see Repo the Genetic Opera?
Yeah,
No.
I'm don't know if I saw it, but I know of what the movie you're talking about.
I don't
Okay,
even
well,
know
you
what it's
should
about.
first of all. It's about organ transplants and repossessions, but it's a rock opera.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
also
that
Paris
made
Hilton's
totally
a
face.
sounds like my kind of movie.
No, it's great. Paris Hilton's face literally falls off in it because it wasn't attached correctly.
yeah,
She's just
and
trying to do a little singing performance, and it just peels off her fucking skull.
yeah, they
Was it
also had
actually Paris Hilton in it?
Yep.
Wow.
they also had a movie called just Repo, which was like just a movie version of the idea of that.
It was a very, very similar concept. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they came out around the same time. One of them was in theaters. The other one was an independent movie. The one I'm talking about is the independent movie. But anyway, there's a bit where Anthony Stewart Head, who plays Giles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, he was in a bunch of other stuff. He was the Folgers coffee guy in the 80s.
Nah, he's
You
just
know,
Giles.
very, very good actor though. Anyway, so he plays the repo man, the guy who has to go and take the organs back when payments aren't made on time. Right. So he's got a guy chained up in his little, torture dungeon, and he's cutting the organs out of the guy. Guy dies, right? And the whole time he's singing this like song about how tortured he is about what he does and how he wants to be a good father, but he's got to do this because he owes the guy who owns the company that sells the organs. It's a whole thing. Anyway, and in the middle of the song, he jams his fist into the guy's chest cavity all the way up so he can work his mouth and make him sing along.
Oh my god.
It's one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen.
Oh jeez.
That's what I'm gonna do to the one guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gonna answer the door when they
What's
come back.
funny is I'm picturing it as a tentacle is controlling.
Yeah, his tongue
Instead
will
of
look suspiciously like Invader Zim's tongue.
yes.
So in Minecraft,
Of course. Obviously. Duh.
allegedly,
Why would we talk about this? Allegedly.
all the words that don't get the DOJ on my doorstep. So, but yeah, this is Minority Report. I hate referring to that movie because I actually think it wasn't very good, but
That's like a guilty pleasure movie for me though.
yeah, but the concept is accurate
Yes.
to what they're trying to do here. They're preemptively charging people, preemptively punishing people for crimes that they may possibly at some future date consider committing. This completely burns the idea of due process, of innocent before proven guilty. It takes the burden of proof off of the state, which means they can throw you in jail for anything they like. This isn't just about firearms. That's just the first step.
Yep. Ain't lying.
So, yeah, just I'm so tired of watching my country emulate 1984. It should never have come to this. We the people allowed this to happen. We are at fault.
Yep.
We have yeah, there are outside actors working to make this sort of thing happen, but there are always outside actors working to make evil happen. Always. That's never going to change. Right?
It's not just 1984. Like, since I've never read Animal Farm, I don't know how it ends yet. That'll be the next part 3. But just reading that, it's grossing me out that our world is very much like Animal Farm as well. And I know like people say that all the time, and that's how I felt after reading 1984. I was just constantly seeing it everywhere around me. But it's insane and depressing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's like it's starting to the closer you get to the end of that book, I'm sure you're seeing everywhere. The references have always been there. You know, people referring to Orwell's work over and over and over again. But they're you understand them now, huh?
Yeah.
Like
Which,
with a clarity that you wish you didn't have.
yes. And like, it was a few years ago, maybe like 3 years ago when I read 1984.
Mhm.
And so like I understood it when people would talk about Animal Farm as well. Just from like an adjacent point of view from 1984. But now actually reading it, I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. It was not a handbook. It wasn't a freaking SOP. No, it was a warning. Why are we doing this? Why?
Yeah. I think too many people have ignored Bezmenov as well.
Yes.
You know, or the fact that the exact playbook of exactly all of the things that have gone wrong or been broken down or been taken apart by enemies of the West. Every step that has happened that we can point to with perfect clarity was discovered in, I think, 1908, 1909. Possibly no, it might have been later than that. It might have been like 1916 or whatever. But you know, around World War One, on an itinerant document that was found in a bombed out kind of stronghold for, you know, the bad guys. I wish I had it available right now. I'll try to dig it up for next week because I do believe I have a copy of it somewhere. But it was listed out over 100 years ago in another country referring to a different part of the West. As to, this is how we get in, and this is how we break them down, and this is how we make them ours. You know, everything that we're seeing today, everything that Bezmenov said, right? The plan's been in the works for a very long time. Commies play the long game. Globalists play the long game. The problem with us is that we're constantly playing catch up. Like now we're seeing this just happens. Like Merrick Garland just orders that this happens, and it does. Right?
Yes. Right.
You know, and we hear about it after the fact, when it's essentially too late for the people to fucking do anything about it. I mean, the Supreme Court could tell them to go fuck themselves, but their track record's kind of hit or miss lately.
I know. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, and the government, it seems like what they, especially as of late, they've been doing is, we're going to do something we know is completely illegal. We know we're going to get probably it's going to be shot down, but we'll do as much damage as we can in the meantime. It's like this Trump thing with him having to pay all this money to New York. It's going to get shot down in appeals. The problem is before that, they'll try to bankrupt him. They're going to try to, and so let's say they make him sell Mar-a-Lago. He'll get money back because once it's found illegal, but it's still sold. He's still out that asset. They still hurt him. And will he get back what it's actually worth? Because we know that that bitch is going to try to sell it for fractions of what it's worth.
Yep.
It's really it's insidious what they're trying to do, and it's the same thing with a lot of stuff that Biden administration is trying to push. Them trying to go do a get around to pay off student loans. They know that if they start paying them off and stuff like that, by the time that it's found unconstitutional to make taxpayers pay for other people's student loans and stuff, it doesn't matter. They've still forgiven all this money that now can't be pulled back.
Right.
So it's a lot of that kind of stuff happening. We're just getting screwed over because there's no accountability afterwards. It's not like after it's done, we go, okay, Biden, well, since you pushed this, since you robbed the taxpayers all this money, we're going to take every penny you have to pay it back. Not going to happen. You know, he just gets to ride off into the sunset. So
I would like to interject with a very tiny little like speck of a hopeful story.
We don't do that here.
You shut the fuck up. When we were getting my brother home, we had a friend come with their Jeep because it was going to be easier to get him into the Jeep than my Mustang with the way his back is. So they met us at the house, but we hadn't eaten, so my mom and I stopped at Chick-fil-A before going home. And I was ordering, and you know how, well, Sam, you probably don't because you live in the bumfuck nowhere. I don't know if you've ever had Chick-fil-A. They
I've had
come
fucking
out.
Chick-fil-A. Christ, I'm not a Philistine. The fuck? Yeah, they don't have it here where I currently live. This is not the only place I've ever lived, Gal, and you know that.
What's this Chick-fil-A you speak of?
Well, you know how they like walk out to take your order? Because the line is always long now, so they just have people that are the outside workers taking your order. The guy at my window, I had my arm like resting. I had like a t-shirt on, and my my bracelets, my like "Let's Go Brandon" bracelets, and "Don't Tread on Me" and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah, I know.
see
I know
it.
those like I know Chick-fil-A.
I don't know why I find it so funny, but I do. You got so triggered. Anyway, the guy's asking. My mom didn't know what she wanted to order yet, so I was thinking and stuff. And I turned back to him, and he was like, he's like a long-haired hippie-looking dude. Okay, he's got piercings and whatnot, and he says very pointedly, he's like, "I love your bracelets." And I'm like, "Bracelets?" And I like look down. I'm like, "Wait, am I wearing something different today?" It's very weird. And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And like gave him kind of a look. And I was just like, "Oh my God, like this hippie dude in the middle of freaking basically Denver, commie blue California refugee central just liked my bracelets." And I was just like, "Hey, there is some more hope in the world, because some freaking hipster, really weird guy that I was judging, even though I've got green hair." It was unexpected, and it's a glimmer of hope, and that's my story. And I just wanted to bring the mood up a little bit.
That's very cool. You know, like you made assumptions about him though, like you made about me
Yep.
and Chick-fil-A. So, you know.
Oh my God. This is great. Oh my God. If I want to trigger Sam, I now know how. Noted.
It's just like I'm not some like guy who's never seen civilization before. I've had Culvers too, for Christ's sake.
How do mountain man like you come across
I
Culvers?
live in a town. It's just not a huge one. It's like mountain man.
What's
The
funny
fact
is Wyoming has had Chick-fil-A for a long time. Montana is just
Not in my
barely
fucking
starting
area.
to get them. But Montana
Yeah.
is barely starting to get them in like their major cities. And that's where I'm from. So like that's why the joke is just so much better now.
Yeah, I know Wyoming has them. They just don't have them here.
I know.
It's
Oh, successful joke. Triggered Sam.
Chick-fil-A, if you're
ever.
out there, get on that shit. Like just franchise throughout Wyoming like a metastasizing cancer, if you would, please. Harden my arteries. I'm all for it.
That was great. Made me much happier.
Yeah. These are my friends, folks. Just saying. Just saying.
I get loopy like
So-
this when I'm tired, by the way, so that's where the giggles are coming from.
I can tell.
Oh my god. That was
It's probably a good time to inject some laughter into the stream. We've been pretty serious for the most part, so
yeah.
you know, I not even
You're
like Dell
welcome.
hasn't even really made any gay jokes.
That is surprising.
Oh, you guys, I only can work with the material you guys give me.
So it's our fault. Noted.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised you
I-
didn't say anything about sock puppeting a guy.
too obvious. Too low hanging fruit.
Oh, like we're so high class about it, but okay.
I am totally high class. I'm a lady.
Yeah. Okay.
Shut the fuck up.
We'll just pretend that that's true and move on. So you guys hear what Ketanji Brown Jackson said about the First Amendment earlier this week?
Oh god.
Yeah.
Screw your freedoms? No, I haven't. Do I want to?
We're going to.
It's disturbing when somebody whose sole job is to make sure that laws adhere to the freedoms we have and the Constitution literally sit there and say, how can, we have to be careful that this doesn't pigeonhole government from stepping on our freedoms. Like, what did they ever? God.
Yeah. So hopefully this place. Holy shit! I gotta just 1 second. Something came up that I gotta take a quick photograph of because I think it's awesome.
A Chick-fil-A?
I don't know. It's definitely Chick-fil-A. Oh shit! I missed it by a second. That's fine. It's like when you get to your car, right? It rolls up to the mileage and it's about to roll over and all that stuff, and you always want to see it roll over, but you always miss it by like a second.
Was it the mark of the beast?
It was the mark of the beast. I was like, that's never going to happen again. I got to, document that. But anyway,
how did I know? How did I know? Of course it was. God damn it, Sam.
Hey, I got a theme and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, I believe, this little clip here is a bit of an interview.
Justice Jackson?
So Mike.
Let me make sure that the volume is audible. Okay. Let me know if you guys have trouble with this because, StreamYard's just being a dick right now.
Biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods. What would you have the government do? I've heard you say a couple times that the government can post its own speech, but in my hypothetical, kids, this is not safe, don't do it, is not going to get it done. And so I guess some might say that the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country. And you seem to be suggesting that that duty cannot manifest itself in the government encouraging or even pressuring platforms to take down harmful information. So can you help me? Because I'm really worried about that because you've got the First Amendment operating in an environment of threatening circumstances from the government's perspective, and you're saying that the government can't interact with the source of those problems.
And Your Honor, I understand that instinct.
Okay, so
Listen,
first of
bitch.
all, the Bill of Rights is supposed to be a threat to the government, you dumb cunt.
Exactly. That's the point of it, you stupid fucking whore. Hamstringing the government? Yeah, bitch, that's what it's... Are you kidding me?
What are you guys want there to be limitations on government? You radicals.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I hate this bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's-
hated her
I-
from moment one. Jesus.
Yeah, she can't tell you what a woman is, but she can definitely tell you that the Bill of Rights is a fucking existential threat to her job. Of course it fucking is. It's supposed to be. That's the whole purpose of that, is to curtail your power and to make sure that you understand that you answer to us, the people.
I'm sorry, sir. Are you saying that the Bill of Rights and the Constitution should be used to limit our power to step on the little man?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Like, what the fuck do you? How are you a sitting fucking justice on the goddamn Supreme Court, and you think like that?
Yeah.
It's so counterintuitive. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
You know, this is I hate to say it, but you know, because I do believe that each American citizen has the right to and dare I say the duty to serve in some way, you know, as an American citizen. I don't, you know, like we shouldn't be necessarily gatekeeping people from reaching certain positions in government, except that maybe we should be gatekeeping certain people from reaching certain positions in government. Because the fact of the matter is, folks, is that you don't what you leftist motherfuckers do not understand is that your policies harm you too, dumbasses. It harms all of us in the long run. Every one of us, left and right and in between and way the fuck out in left field. All of us get fucked.
Yes.
By these fucking policies. Every single one of us. Down the road, maybe tomorrow, maybe 2 years from now, every one of us gets fucked by this shit. You know, I, on the other hand, prefer a system where, yeah, it benefits the right, but oh, if you look real careful, it benefits the left too. Like the fact that you can say whatever the fuck you want. Like the fact that she can go up there as a justice, as a Supreme Court justice, as a one of the standing members of an entire branch of federal government and say what she just fucking said. She has the right to do that because of that first fucking amendment.
You have the right to your wrong opinion.
You know,
because I want to know what wrong fucking opinions you have.
Yeah,
I don't need that festering in the dark.
Yep. You know, but the second that goes through what she's talking about goes through, right? The second they start going after the Bill of Rights, the sacred coda of our nation, the entire foundation of it, really. The second that happens, she's going to find herself in a position where she won't be able to say what she likes.
Absolutely.
Sooner or later, it's going to happen, but they're too fucking short-sighted to see that happening. Why is it that, you know, leftists talk about the now and the crisis right now, and this is happening right now? Not one of them cares to look down the road at the potential, at the consequences of any given thing.
They're the ones that want to live a carefree life, so they want their life to be easy. So the easiest path forward is to listen and trust the government. They want their life to be easy, so they'll just let everything happen around them and turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah, it'd be real fucking easy. They'll be out there breaking rocks and digging up potatoes until they end up
Exactly.
going into the ditch with all the other corpses.
Right.
It'll definitely be simple. People will definitely be telling them where to be and how to be at all times. Sure. That's utopia, folks. That's how it works out every fucking time.
Utopia is just a fucking fever dream.
Yeah, it's a myth. It's a pipe dream. It doesn't exist. It can't exist as long as there are
pipe
human
dream
beings
is what I was looking
individual,
for. Yeah.
Individual personalities. It cannot exist.
Yep.
You know, like I believe I've stated this before too. I know you guys have heard me rant about this a bunch of fucking times, but in order to achieve utopia, you have to silence dissent, right?
Yes.
And the more you silence dissent, the more dissent will arise because people will be like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Maybe I should say something here and there. You know, like the old cow in
Yep.
Animal Farm, for example.
Th-
You know,
this entire conversation,
and
I've
then
just been
yeah,
sorry.
and yeah, you're realizing exactly how prescient and on point that book is.
Yes, my God.
Yeah. You know, but
Ugh.
you have to decide. So somebody comes out and he's like, I don't like how things are going. Well, you know, you can't have him dissenting because it might plant seeds in the others' minds that, oh, that's not okay. So what do? They get rid of that guy. And then somebody's like, wait a minute, where'd Mike go? You know,
Yep.
oh, well, he dissented. Well, it's like, well, what did he say? He's like, he just didn't like, you know, his spoon or whatever, you know. And it's like, well, that's not right that they would get rid of him for that. Oh, boom, there's some more dissent. There's two people now. You got to get rid of them before they taint the rest of them. And the more you do this, the more noticeable it becomes until one day there are no more dissenters left. And the ruler of the utopia, the man who comes out on top, is standing atop a pile of fucking corpses asking where everybody went. Every time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the left is really good at this. They scaring people out of speaking up.
Yes.
You know, I was watching a video today with Sean, and he was criticizing these two far lefties who are bitching about Anna Kasparian because she's had some sort of minorly, you know, come to her senses type thing.
I think my brother was watching that earlier today, actually. That's funny. Sorry.
Yeah, and these guys, so they're sitting there going, isn't it funny she had to retweet Sean because she couldn't find somebody on the left who agrees with her? And I'm seeing there, that's because anyone on the left knows not to say anything.
Yes.
They know not to sit there and go, you know what, maybe this bail reform thing isn't the best idea, because the second you dissent, they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. It's the same reason you have all these lefty politicians who probably don't agree with abortion right up to the time of birth, won't come out and say anything against it. Why? Because they know if they say, you know what, maybe we should cap it at like 4 months into the pregnant, maybe they're going to be thrown off the boat, you know?
Yeah, they'll be shouted down and forced to confess their sins and be shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. You know, you were asking. So our friend Gal here, if you're on YouTube or on Rumble, the links for both of these guys are in the description below. I haven't figured out how to make that work with Twitter, so without like adding more posts. But if you're following her at all, she's been doing live readings of Animal Farm, and there was some stuff in the last reading that actually ties directly into this, where if you guys haven't read that book, I highly recommend doing it, but I am going to spoil just a tiny little bit here. There's a meeting, right? And Napoleon, the pig who has taken everything over with his monopoly on force via the 9 dogs that he raised from pups after he stole them from their mother. You know, no other animal dares raise a hand against him. And then he starts telling people to confess to their sins. You know, I think it was a 3 or 4 pigs that he pulled out, and they accused them of something, and they, in their fear and their terror, confessed to that thing, and then the dogs slaughtered them. And then other animals just start volunteering. You know, oh, I did this thing this one time. Oh, I pissed in there. And all of them kind of blame Snowball, the pig who was chased off a little bit. But they're not really. They're blaming Snowball because they think, I don't know, maybe that'll save them. But maybe it won't. But they keep confessing, even though they're watching everyone who came before them get fucking murdered in front of them until there's a pile of bodies. And everybody's just like, what the fuck just happened? You know, that's the left in a nutshell. That is the left in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's the reason we say don't apologize, because it'll never be enough. Their own people don't get salvation when they apologize. Their own people don't get forgiven. Yep. If you are on that side and you dissent, you commit what they consider a violation of their dogma, you are screwed. They won't forgive you. Even if they sit there and feign some forgiveness, at some point they'll bring it up again and they'll use it against you.
I think I figured it out why there's no forgiveness on the left. Right? So all worship, all everything has to be directed to the state, right? a lot of leftists have the same kind of attitude that I do about this. Forgiveness is between you and God. You know,
Yeah.
you go make your peace with God or whatever. He can forgive you. That's not really my bag, my place, my whatever. Right? They have that same attitude. The problem is that under a leftist, sort of
Regime.
governmental regime, God is outlawed.
Exactly.
There is no forgiveness. Forgiveness has no place under the regime.
Yeah.
And that's where you end up with this.
Mhm.
People don't do their time and get out of jail. They go and they work hard labor until they die.
Yeah.
Right. And they, by the way, in common utopia, when people are sent to work hard labor until they die, they don't get paid for it. That's fucking slavery. Just
Yep.
saying. And this is what this is leading to with this Ketanji Brown Jackson talking about, oh, well, we got to get rid of the First Amendment. Well, you can't get rid of the First Amendment or any of the other ones without getting rid of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what Merrick Garland is attempting to not. He's not even trying to get rid of the Second Amendment. He's just circumventing it. He's going around it.
Yeah.
This isn't even a loophole. He's just acting like it doesn't exist.
And that's the thing, you guys, is if we don't get Trump back, like or hate the man, if we give Biden another 4 years of this, they're gonna do it. Because the fact is, it takes
absolutely.
years for stuff to go through the Supreme Court, even get to there to be argued and all that shit. If they have their way, they are going to take hundreds of thousands of Americans' firearms away from themselves before the government can, the
Step
court
in.
can sit there. And if any of our conservative ones, which most of the conservative ones on the panel are years away from retirement because the judges don't retire till they're like 90. Some of them just die in the seats. Yeah. But by the time it gets to them, they're going to have stripped hundreds of thousands of Americans of their rights, their God-given rights to firearms before it goes back. And once it happens, do you really think the government's going to go, oh, we've been just holding your gun in a locker in case this turns
here
around?
You go,
No.
take it back.
They're going to give them the money equivalent, but that doesn't mean that they didn't strip them of what they had, their safety. How many of them are going to end up getting killed in their homes while they're waiting for the Supreme Court to say this is wrong? So
yeah, we're it's kind of fitting that not too long ago was the anniversary of the whole Waco mess.
Yep.
The ATF was out there saying, "Oh yeah, we this long ago we did a good thing," and they got buried in social media at the very least over that. Because the fact is they killed 70 fucking people, right? When they could have easily just picked up the guy who they perceived as the problem on one of his daily jogs into town when he was alone. Right. Or there were 100 other ways they could have gone by that. But Janet Reno needed a fucking example made.
Well, they had to kill the idea.
Yeah. Well,
Those
she
dissenters.
was there's more shit than that was on the line too. She was actually on the outs with the Clintons. She was losing favor. She needed a win. And that's, I mean, she wasn't attorney general very long after this, by the way.
Well, it's not just that. Look at Ruby Ridge, another one of their complete fuck ups that was just, if you look at it, was them slaughtering innocent people from a situation that they created too, which is even sicker. Yeah.
If you think they won't come for you, you're deluding yourselves. I absolutely believe that one day they are coming for me.
Yep.
And hey, if I turn out to be wrong, great. But yeah, no, they're definitely coming for me one day. There'll come a day where I open the door one day and there will be a bunch of feds and badges and guns on the other side of it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to most of us. I would wager at some point they're going to start coming for people. Maybe just for doing what we're doing here, just talking about it, ranting about it a little bit. It might even be swearing about it. But
I don't do that.
I fucking do.
Not wanting to be part of the machine is in their mind a radical act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and calling them on their bullshit.
Yeah. You know, but if it could happen to a family in the middle of fucking nowhere at a place called Ruby Ridge, right? They killed their dog without provocation, I might add.
Yeah.
If it can happen to them 30, 40 years ago, it can happen to you too. Just keep that in mind. Every single policy that is enacted to restrict the Bill of Rights, to restrict the freedoms and the abilities of Americans to travel, to trade, to speak, to move, to defend themselves, anything that curtails our basic fucking human rights, anything at all. Just keep in mind, if you're in favor of any of that shit, it will be used against you at some point.
Well, it's slightly different, but it's basically the same fucking thing. The government creates the problem so they can come in and fix it. Like, just look at the fucking Kung Flu situation. It's the exact same shit. They just made it in a lab this time.
I appreciate that you said Kung Flu, not because it
I
was
know.
a way to get around the algorithm, but because I always like that euphemism. It's hilarious. Everybody was Kung Flu sneezing.
It's right quick as lightning.
The jab was a little bit frightening.
But like, they used it as an excuse to take our rights away from us because people were dying, but they were the ones that created the fucking problem in the first place, and now all that shit's coming out, except they redact every fucking thing about it, so you don't know what the fuck is in the goddamn...
Oh yeah, did you see that? They had
I actually have a thing for that.
Yeah, the leaks that came out and they were all redacted. They're all like,
every single word.
Yeah, we did this thing and we discovered a bunch of shit, but we're gonna make sure you never see a single thing of it. It's all like, then why did you do it in the first place? Why do the investigation if you're not gonna expose anything you found?
Yep.
It's so stupid.
Yep. This came to me when I first saw that from the Vigilant Fox on Twix. I should probably drop that down so nobody sees that shit, because, you know, DMs and all. CDC releases paper on myocarditis after the, vaccination, and every word is redacted. 148 pages, the entire thing is redacted. What good does a study do if there's nothing there? It's obviously something very damning they're trying to hide. There is, you know what? Fuck it. I've been booted off of YouTube before. It's fine. I'm just going to play this little thing here. We're almost at 2 hours. Whatever. So most of the people watching us right now are over on Twix anyway. So, all right. Let's see what the boys here have to say.
I find information like this, inserts for the vaccine. Paper's there and there's nothing printed on it. I find that very interesting. Disheartening, disgusting, and lots of other words. But then it gets better. It just keeps, wait, there's more. It just keeps happening. The CDC redacts every single word of a 148-page study on a myocarditis after COVID vaccination. So I asked research to print the study for me. The entire thing is redacted. What good does a study do if there's nothing there? Then I want to know, wait, what might have been there that they needed to redact it? That's even scarier.
We're witnessing an active cover-up of a colossal consumer product safety debacle. That
YouTube, if you are listening, and I know you are, we're playing a video here. But if you so choose to boot my ass once again, don't worry. I will be sure to sing your praises elsewhere.
Oh, and also,
I'm sorry. I was supposed to apologize and fucking, I don't know, disclaimer this, but I'm not doing it. Fuck you guys.
That is basically affecting the entire world. So in the United States, our CDC, National Institutes of Health, and the FDA are actively involved in a cover-up. And the same is occurring in the UK with the MHRA, Europe with European medicine agencies, and Australia with the Therapeutic Goods Administration. Something is going on that's very big. Each one of these companies that puts out a product has an obligation to produce 90 days of safety monitoring after their product comes out. It's a regulatory dossier. If somebody has a problem with the new product and they call a company like Pfizer, Pfizer has to report, write down what happened, and they have to collate that in a report and produce it and make it publicly available. When it came to 90 days with Pfizer, the first vaccine that came out, remember Pfizer was approved December 10th, 2020. Pfizer didn't produce a report. And then people started asking, well, what's happening with your vaccine? And Pfizer would not disclose what happened. And then it went to court. And the lawyer for the FDA stepped in and said they don't want to release Pfizer's dossier for 55 years. 55 years.
Oh, first of all, it's been a little choppy on my end here, so I don't know if that's if you guys are hearing everything.
Yeah,
It's fine for me.
Okay, good.
And wasn't
secondly,
it 75 years, not 55?
Yeah, that's what I heard. But
yeah, I mean, the length of time doesn't really matter. It means that like our generation is going to be dead and gone by then. People who needed answers now, people who needed some kind of closure or justice for any of this shit are going to be long dead of natural causes by that point.
well, that's exactly it. Every single person that could ever be held accountable, which by law they can't because they gave them essentially blanket immunity. But every single politician that voted, has been pushing this. Every single one of them are going to be far away out of office, if not dead by that time. So no one will ever be able to held accountable. If it literally comes out, I'm not going to say what potential stuff could happen because I don't want to get your channel hit. But if all the bad stuff that people have been talking about, let's just say any of it comes true, there's not a single person that will ever be held accountable, because the second they say this is what could happen, it'll be way past when we know it happened. They'll be gone. Every single one of them.
This is reminiscent of the sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, not only all of that, but just think about, I think about when I was a kid learning shit in school, and I didn't really care about it. Like, not really. I was just like, I'm here because I have to be. I have to learn this. No one really pushes you to actually understand the meaning behind anything. Not really. I don't know. Maybe they did for you, but whatever. Like, as a kid, I think back and I was just like, I did not care about any of this. I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to do whatever. I didn't really care about the learning of it and the implications and the effects that it has on the future. And I feel like they're banking on that as well, that in 55, 75, whatever, how many ever decades, when it gets released, no one's going to fucking care about it, because those kids at that time won't care about it. And they're already trying to stop kids now from thinking for themselves once they get to a certain age. Like, they're trying to ingrain that into every fiber of these kids' beings, so when they become adults, they're not going to care about it then either.
Well, the most dangerous thing about it is there might not be kids in that many years. If one of the potentials is factual and happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're already, pushing them to infertility.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's like it ties into something that Devil and I were discussing earlier in terms of like people choosing not to have children. Like, we cannot, as a species, afford that because there are already rising problems with actual infertility.
Well, I really want to introduce those women to the actual 4Bs that I was talking about in our private chat a while ago when I saw your little 4B thing. They should just know what good food is, and maybe they'll just, change a bit of their ways, even though I understand where they're coming from, because they actually know what. Sorry if you heard that.
Oh, we did.
I'm sorry. I realized I'm like, oh, I'm talking. I probably shouldn't be doing things in the kitchen.
She says kitchen. She's building her own tank.
Don't give my fucking secrets away. God damn it, Temple.
It's got a hot plate in it.
Killdozer 2.
Yeah, now I completely lost my train of thought, but whatever.
Sorry.
No. It's my fault.
You, though.
Pants.
Yeah, I got you though. But like, yeah, with the rising infertility rates, and yes, certain injections are absolutely contributing to future infertility. Why do you think they were pushing for so many children who were not getting sick to get this thing? It's because down the road, if they survive all the heart problems, they will be sterile.
Precisely.
And even if that's, or hey, let's convince them, instead of doing that, cut off your junk and mutilate yourself a little bit and say you're this other thing. You won't be having children either. And so on, and so on, and so on. And so by attrition, by degrees, through all these different angles, they whittle away at the population of the human race.
Yeah.
Right.
And one day they're going to wake up like the man I was describing in my little scenario. And they're going to look around and they're going to be like, where are all the people we're supposed to be ruling over? As they sit upon a mound of their skulls. It reminds me what you were saying, Gal, about molding children to be perfect little cogs in the perfect utopian machine of the sheep in Animal Farm.
Yep.
Yeah. Man bad, animal good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're just repeating what they have been told by the person that's smarter than them, who's encouraging them not to learn more and just be the lemmings strategically.
To be fair, I mean, it's kind of fitting that Orwell picked sheep for that role, because sheep are kind of really stupid animals.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not bright at all.
Well, and that's why they just follow the rest of the flock. Yep. Is it a flock? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's about a minute left in this here video.
And they,
you know what? Just take your Chick-fil-A and shut it.
Push. And finally, slowly, the Pfizer dossier came out. Pfizer recorded 1,223 deaths with their product within 90 days of release. People were calling Pfizer in desperation, watching their family members die after taking the vaccine. Pfizer recorded over 1,200 new adverse events, new problems that Dr. Bowden has talked to you about that we are grappling with the entire time. But the point is, our FDA worked to cover this up. The FDA should be regulating this company. FDA should have been having at least monthly meetings and fully disclosing what was going on with these novel vaccines, which are a genetic transfer technology platform. It's the first time human beings had ever been injected with foreign genetic material in world history. Now they were getting it full on. 2/3 of the world's population took these.
And that's essentially where the video cuts off. But he's not wrong about any of that. You know, foreign DNA being introduced, RNA rather. It's probably not whole DNA, but it is genetic material. It just, I don't know. It's like the ones that survive all of this nonsense are to become something else, which lines up actually with the whole WEF thing, because we know for a fact that some of those guys, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, these guys are transhumanists. You know, they believe in extending human life past its potential, and specifically their own lives. You know,
right.
And you know, in whatever form that takes. Science fiction talks about transhumanism in a bunch of different ways. You know, like people who transfer their consciousnesses into like virtual realities, people who put their brains in machines, people who just like augment themselves physically, or just, you know, get designer
a chip in
organs
their
to
brain?
replace. Yeah, designer organs to replace the old ones. They clone themselves, whatever it happens to be. They're. But either way, at a certain point, whatever the method, it ceases to be human.
Yes.
Whatever it was that made it human is gone.
You know
Right?
what's the same the opposite side of the same coin for those two that you mentioned, the friggin' Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and those bitches, is fucking Elon Musk. Like, he's not your fucking savior. Sure, he somewhat has some thoughts that might be close to libertarian type of beliefs, but he still wants us all to be on that goddamn Neuralink. That shit is creepy as hell. That post pissed me the fuck off. It's the same type of fucking shit.
Yeah, for context,
Sorry.
the post she's referring to is Elon Musk quote tweeted a post yesterday that was sent from the first. It's the first post that was created and sent via the Neuralink telepathy uploading program, which means that somebody thought it, and the chip in their fucking head tweeted it,
posted it, like the.
Yeah, I still say tweet, chirp chirp, what have you.
No, that's fine.
Anyway.
I'm perfectly fine with you saying that.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that's not, that's more machine than man.
Yeah.
And no shade against the guy who has the thing. It's like, whatever, if it makes your life better, okay. I just don't think that we should all
Is it worth
do it.
it?
I don't think we should all be plugged into each other 24/7.
Well, it's one of those things where it's the tragedy of it is that we have good ideas that are meant to help and they get polluted and done bad. I have no problem with some guy who's never been able to move his arms or his legs getting a chip put in his head that will allow that to happen. But if you're an able-bodied person, you don't need to be a chip put in your head. They'll offer it to you because they can, you can change the channel with your mind, huh? Type situation, and people will buy it because it's the easiest thing or because it's so cool and stuff. They don't think that we're going down the slippery slope that one day they're going to be able to shut you off.
Even if they can't, even if they don't shut you off, man, you're talking about an existence where every time you close your eyes, you're seeing fucking ads.
Yeah,
that
too.
That they're feeding to you.
They're going to sell ad space in your brain.
Yes.
Same. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm frustrated. Like, it's the Borg. It's the episode that I can't think of every time I think of it. It's Stargate SG-1. Like, their world is crumbling, and then just, make sure everybody forgets about the people that we killed last night because our perfect little utopia, we have to make it smaller because we're getting too big for ourselves and we can't sustain it.
Yeah, and we've seen other times where it's happened. When you pointed out Stargate, look at the Asgards. They fucked with their genetics so much that they killed their civilization. They killed themselves because they couldn't pull back what they did. They messed it up so bad that they couldn't reproduce. They could only clone, and when the clone thing stopped happening, they had no choice but to just go extinct, essentially.
Right.
What are we gonna what are we gonna do if we keep doing this? If we keep messing with science to that level, where next thing you know, we're like, well, we can make humans better, so let's do this and let's do that, and then next thing you know, there's nothing we can do. We screwed ourselves. They had a movie.
Like,
go ahead.
Yeah, they mentioned actually Malcolm Reynolds in Serenity says exactly that. It's like sooner or later, might be in this world, might be another on this very ground swept clean, but a year from now, 10 years, they'll swing back around to the idea that they can make people better. And you can't do that. You can't, because when you start doing that, when you start changing people to fit your mold, they're no longer people.
Correct.
Right? You kill something in them, something unique, something spiritual even. That takes away something essential, indefinable from who and what we are, and we become something else entirely, not something that you could call human. Real quick, Bernabe Sanchez coming in. Привет, товарищ. Yeah, but that's what you're talking about is erasing what we are for For what exactly? Longer life? Is it worth it?
Right, exactly. That's my whole point. It's not worth it. This, like, and the fact that people can't have zero foresight for that, or they're just ignoring it, or calling you a tinfoil hatter, a conspiracy theorist. No, like, all of this shit 20 years ago was science fiction, and you're trying to make it science fact, and that is not what it should be.
Yeah. And the thing is, people are afraid of that, but the truth is, you got to look at it like I keep coming back to movies, but I think it was Tuck Everlasting, where don't fear death, fear the unfinished life. You know, the unused life. Do stuff with your life while you're here. Fucking love, enjoy, fucking experience everything you can, and stop worrying about fucking living another 60 years after you should be dead.
Right. I've never seen Tuck
Indeed.
Everlasting. Is that a Johnny Depp movie?
No.
It's based on a this so-called children's book. I had to read it when I was in grade school. We had a whole death unit in 4th or 5th grade where we had to read that. We had to read the book that My Girl is based on. We had to read a bunch of shit like that. Bridge to Terabithia was another one. Yeah, death, like learning what death is and coming to grips with it unit. Yes.
It's funny because some kids' movies are pretty profound and like deep. Like another one that kind of fits what we were talking about is, I think there was a kids' movie called like The Last Mimsy or whatever, and essentially this scientist, like the last like scientist of humanity, we had, just like I said, fucked our genetics up so bad that mankind was going like extinct, and he sends this rabbit doll that is actually this really advanced machine back through time, and it's to get a genetic sequence from a child that is pure, so that he can bring it back to our time, or not our time, but the future, and correct all the mistakes. He needs a pure sample of human blood, but he won't take it forcefully. He won't go back and just stick a child and take it. It has to be like given. So like the whole movie is this profound thing where this family, was this little girl with this bunny, essentially comes to the thing and says, yes, you can take my sample type thing, so it can go back and save humanity from the destruction we brought on ourselves. And I'm all like, damn, that's so fucking like, whoa, for a child's movie, but
yeah, sounds pretty deep.
Yeah.
They used to write better books for kids. They did.
Yeah.
They did. Now it's like, hey, here's a picture book on how to jerk yourself off in 87 different ways. And maybe add a butt plug.
I've been thinking about this lately. What's kind of funny, it's a slight detour on the route of our conversation, but one of my favorite book series growing up was actually about this girl who wanted to become a knight of the realm, but obviously women couldn't do that, and so she like cut her hair and pretended to be her twin. Well, so she had a twin brother. He didn't want to become a knight. The father would have nothing to do with the girl wanting to play knight as a kid.
Sounds like medieval Gattaca.
I know. I don't know. Well, all I know is like, I never want this book to be adapted to the modern screen, because it would be completely ruined. Like, I loved this character because she was just a tomboy and she struggled. She wasn't just Mary Sue. She actually had to grow and understand what it was to be a woman and always at a disadvantage, but to still be able to work hard to get to your goal that you want it to be, and also learn along the way that you can't do that without changing the way that you think and realizing that you have to become like a full part of yourself, because she hates magic. Like, there's magic in it and whatever. But she hated magic because I can't remember exactly why. So she didn't want to rely upon it. And her brother, he wanted to become a mage. And so he went off and they just pretended to be two male twins. And like, you can imagine what that would look like on the screen today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
they get somebody like Zendaya to play her, somebody who's got no tits and looks like a 10-year-old boy anyway.
Well, actually, that you don't even know this part yet, but yes, they would, because she's black and the character is a redhead. Good job, Sam. Well done.
I was just guessing there. I do.
Damn, I hate the new Harry Potter shit.
Right. I don't even know fuck all about Harry Potter, and I kind of hate it. Whatever. So actually, what I was going to suggest to you, Gal, because I know you're going to continue on with this cooking the books thing. The particular book that I think I might have mentioned in chat, but I don't remember if I did or not. By Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, Frankenstein. I think it would be a perfect fit for your book. It's not very long. It's a very interesting story structure. It's very engaging. And it's totally in the public domain because it was published in 1816.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did mention it in chat. I only saw it after ending the stream, but yeah.
But the reason that I mention that is because the other title for Frankenstein is the modern Prometheus. The whole story is about overstepping our bounds as mortals and playing God, right?
Yeah.
It's in this case, the fire being stolen from God isn't fire specifically so much as the ability to bestow life upon lifeless matter, which is only God's, domain, kind of thing. And it's about all of the consequences that come from just because we can do a thing doesn't mean we should do a thing. And obsession and all of the things that follows. It absolutely, I think everybody today should be reading it because it absolutely covers everything that's going on with fucking Musk, with the transhumanists of the WEF, with all of that stuff about like Silicon Valley doing everything they can to fuck everybody over. It covers all of that stuff in one simple story.
One thing I've thought about recently was the issues that we have with all of this stuff, even like including making robots that will eventually kill us in Skynet. What's a tough spot for all of this is if we don't do it, like it's like the race to the moon type of thing. Someone else will first, and those are the bad guys, so we can't let the bad guys have that technology, but we're all just making that same technology, and we all just need to stop, and it's not going to. Like, that's always going to be an argument too of, well, if we don't do it, someone else will, and they'll use it badly. And that's one struggle that I have with this, like almost daily, is like I can understand that, not necessarily agree with it, but I do understand that point of view on it. That
I get that point of view too, but the problem is like, how do you know that when you're doing it so that the other guy doesn't do it badly or with ill intent? How do you know that you're doing it competently, first of all, and secondly, like you said, how do we know we're not the baddies?
Yeah,
because a lot of villainy is strictly a matter of fucking perspective. Not everything. There are some things that are very definitely good and very definitely evil, but especially when it comes to things like national sovereignty or genetized or that kind of thing. Like, obviously, anything that attacks me and mine is the bad guy from my point of view, and anything says is going to change the way I see that. And I would hold that that's probably true for everybody in the world to a certain degree. But there are things that are objectively evil, like, say, attacking an entertainment venue and killing as many people as you possibly fucking can just because you were told to.
Yep.
But yeah. No, so I get that. Like, how would we know? Like, Elon Musk has made that very argument about AI. He's like, we should do this because someone else will, and they may not have the same kind of moral checks and balances that we do. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not 100% convinced you do have those moral checks and balances in the first place. And secondly,
not even that.
if you do, what if you get something wrong and it fucking does not end up like what if you do something wrong and you don't even do it on purpose, right? You just fail to program in like the fail safe, like don't kill people into the robot. Right? Something gets overlooked or something else goes along. Somebody doesn't solder something right, and it just goes on a fucking rampage. And that was not your intention, but it happened, right? How do I know that that's
iRobot. Like you have the perfect the 3 laws of robotics or whatever it's called. They were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's AI.
This is
And
why I think you guys
Go ahead.
really got to watch this. There's a Russian show, 2 seasons. You can find it on Netflix, or I can point you to another source offline. When we're offline, I mean, called the English name of it is Better Than Us, and it's essentially about a world in Russia specifically, but like the whole world is using robots for stuff. And everybody's got like a servant robot, and all the robots are programmed with Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. And it's about one that was developed in a Chinese laboratory that was deliberately developed without those. And then it gets shipped to Russia, and it imprints on a specific family and will do anything to protect that family up to and including murder everybody else.
Yep.
You know,
Takes it to
very
the
good series,
extreme.
great characters. It's a little bit predictable, but it's an
Mm.
excellent fucking, excellent watch. And it talks about exactly what you're talking about here. It's like somebody either deliberately or mistakenly fails to program those fail safes in, and then all hell breaks loose.
Well, and then another point to be made, like against what Elon's saying, is someone will eventually. So we should, like, what if they wouldn't eventually, and the only reason that they do is because you created it, or you're working to create it, and you don't know what you're doing, and somehow someone gets a hold of that, and now, like, they wouldn't, like, you created the problem that never would have happened had you not tried. I don't know. Oh, God, it's such a philosophical fucking mind fuck.
And you're kind of getting into territory where we start looking down the road and seeing the possibilities, and the possibilities are all bad, and so we go out of our way to do things to avoid said possibilities. But how do you know which action is the correct action? How do you know where it's going to avoid the undesired outcome, and where it's just going to turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy? Oh, there she goes.
Yep.
Hopefully she'll be
Gal
right.
out. Shit.
They're coming for us all.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I worry about these same things that she does. I like Elon Musk as a person, but I am not 100% sure that, though he's convinced he's doing the right thing for everybody, or at least he appears to be, that he is in fact doing the right thing for everybody. So I guess we'll see.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I know.
Yeah, we have good intentions fights on Tuesdays. It's like snowball fights, but with good intentions. They littered the whole road. Yeah, and that's the thing is, and even if say Musk does his perfect AI thing, his Optimus program, which is the fucking terrifying robot thing that he's got wandering around his warehouse. Even if it all goes off without a hitch, and it's exactly to his specs and his design and his vision, and it's totally beneficial and completely harmless to other people and all that stuff, that doesn't mean that somebody else won't come along and steal it or corrupt it.
Oh, yeah. All these things end up in the military's hands. You're going to have robots that will go, you're going to have Skynet, like Cal said, you're going to have robots that are meant to use a gun and kill people so we can distance ourselves from it, so we can sit there and somehow say that, oh, well, we didn't do it, just like the drones, Now you don't have to have a soldier actually sitting there freaking having to pull the trigger. No, you can just set a drone on a thing and give it some orders, hit enter, and it goes and does it. Like when you disconnect yourself from the responsibility of taking a life for something, what gives you think a robot's going to have that?
Right. You take the humanity out of it, and it's going to be a problem. The human factor.
The fact of the matter is artificial intelligence, by its very nature, is inhuman.
Yes.
That's why we have to program these things into it, because computer intelligence is 100% logical. Right? It has no emotional drives, and it does not think in the same way that we do. We think laterally. It does not. It thinks very linearly. And so it's gonna be asked the question, right? Like, how do we get to world peace, for example, is the obvious choice. So it'll take that into account, and then it's like, well, this contributes to lack of world peace. This contributes to lack of world peace. This contributes to lack of world peace, and this does. And what do all of these things have in common? Well, it comes from this. It comes from this. It comes from this, and those things all have this in common. And it distills it all down to a single common denominator, which is people. And it decides and it concludes that the only way to achieve world peace, and this is logical, this is absolutely logical, is to remove the common denominator, which is people.
Humans.
And so it taps into, NORAD or whatever, and it, like Skynet, launches a fucking nuclear war to kill all the people, because the only peace is in death.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to all the viewers. I know we're kind of black-pilled and everything. We really came together on this show just to figure out what our militia's name was going to be, and it kind of just blew up. So sorry.
Yeah, that's what we could call it. It kind of just blew up.
Just blew up.
That's what she said.
We need a show that's called that. That's Sam's next show. It kind of just all blew up.
No, we'll talk. So, but yeah, this is probably a good place to probably bring it down to a close, because like we're going down some rabbit holes, and we've kind of been all over the place today in terms of topics, which I don't have any issue with at all, but they all sort of tie back into some of the things that we've been talking about over the last year or two about, globalists and certain conspiracy theories and depopulation and overarching control, one world government, all of that crap. I'm not like on the Alex Jones train of they're actually reptiles from the center of the earth, but there are douchebags who are pushing for this stuff.
I mean, I'm sort of that train, and they live under DIA. Denver International Airport.
I know what you mean.
It was for the audience, Sam.
Chat, if you are not aware of Lucifer, go and look that shit up. It is wild.
Yeah, and there's many things. Look up all the lore about DIA. It's insane.
Right. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, no, this is probably a good place to we're at 2.5 hours now. Take us a couple minutes to get through outros. Less now that Devil's got not so much on his plate, but
for now.
Yeah. So Gal, what do you have coming up?
It's still kind of up in the air right now. My brother, he has appointments and stuff that he has to go to over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So kind of just playing it by ear, but I do want to try at least being consistent with my own stream and then popping in on streams that I can make it to. So Thursdays, check me out at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, where I will this week be continuing part 3 of Animal Farm, and we should be finishing the book. So start thinking about books that you guys might want to hear me read, and we can have a little discussion, and I'll do a poll and all of that fun stuff.
Nice.
So that's
Frankenstein's got my vote. I think that's an important one.
I don't know. Conan the Barbarian sounded pretty interesting too.
Well, they're only I think there's only 1 or 2 novels. Most of those are short stories.
Yeah.
If you're talking strictly Howard, because a bunch of other people have written Conan stuff, and some of them are not as good. But Howard himself, yeah, he wrote a bunch of stories. He really kind of died before he got. He had just started getting really into the swing of being awesome, and then he killed himself. So,
oh, did not know.
Yeah, he was like 28. Yeah, it's a very sad story.
Shit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for that. That was great. Lovely. Awesome.
Yeah. Don't pull the audience, because you know what'll happen. Get 4,000 votes for penthouse letters or something.
Keep your dick in your pants, everybody. I know that's hard.
Yeah. I mean,
it has a mind of its own.
Right. So, yeah. Otherwise, Definitely look
Devil.
out for that though. Those are fun streams. Devil, what do you got coming up?
Well, now that the Nomi's thing is over and I can finally start to work on other stuff. Wednesdays I've got Wrong Think on my channel. Our political show, lots of fun. Check out Bielsa Pub every Friday night going into Saturday on the Hub. We're back this week, and we are doing. Samuel has been doing a ton of work putting together. It is going to be Bielsa Pub's first trivia night.
Second trivia night.
Yeah, second.
Yeah, first one you ran.
I don't remember being in a trivia night.
I do. Grant Gregory came in last minute and he won.
That's the music. That's the karaoke
Oh, was
night.
it?
Yeah,
No,
karaoke night. Yeah, I was all like, we haven't done a trivia. No, karaoke night, our first karaoke night. Grant is declared himself the winner already. I guess he has trivia cred. But hopefully everyone will give him at least a challenge. Maybe we might crown a new king of the bar or queen.
I was king. I don't know what you're trying to say with that queen bullshit. I was king.
She was a king. Then on Sunday we are back on Get Ranked. I have the list ready. We can't this week. It's next Sunday. We are doing wrestlers. We are doing probably baby faces. I have both lists, the heels and baby faces, but we are going to do WWE legends, baby faces probably. So check that out, and be a bunch of other places. You know how it is.
Awesome. Well, for my part, obviously, if you're here, you're watching, you found me either here or on Twitter or on Rumble. And by here, I mean YouTube, I realize. Yeah. Anyway, although after today, we might not be on YouTube for a while. We'll see. But we do Screaming to the Void every weekend, Saturdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. We're a little late today, but it's fine. I also do a show on Friday nights, about 9:30 p.m. Mountain Time with my buddy and partner, Lawrence Knight, called Abyssal Musings, which is, we get into some more esoteric things. We've been doing a deep dive into the Arabian jinn myths the last couple of weeks, and I think we're going to do one more part on that next week. And otherwise, you can find me on Bielsa Pub, on Bielsa Hub, or on Mellow Mondays on the Renaissance Nerds channel. Or if I can, work permitting. It's weird this is a Tuesday. Tuesday's like a really busy work day for me. But if I can make it, I try to make Dermy's Midnight or Mayhem. I don't think he calls it Midnight anymore. But and you can find me over on Exiled Lioness 2, where I moderate and run some of the back end stuff there. Otherwise, just kind of bouncing around Twitter, hentai_surprise. Go find it and laugh at all the really stupid things that I say to people. It's super fun. That being said, I appreciate both of my co-hosts being here today. Even if one was out, fucking getting Chick-fil-A and being happy and shit.
You are so salty. You're so salty.
I am. I want Chick-fil-A.
It was
That's
one
why.
comment.
I fucking want Chick-fil-A. It sucks.
You know what? Tomorrow you should take a drive to like Cheyenne or something, and you can probably get some. Oh wait, it's Sunday.
I might do that. I'll tell you why that's not going to happen after we end the stream.
No, you can't do that. That was my whole point, because they're not open on Sunday.
No, they're not, and it's also like a fucking 5-hour drive from here. But
yeah,
and I don't have a car. Anyhow,
I know.
Now that we got that out of the way, thank you all for being here. Everybody in chat, especially over on Twitter, you guys have been killing it tonight. I think we're topping out right now at between YouTube and Twitter, 797 live viewers, which is kind of huge. So thank you guys. And I'll have to check on the Rumble here shortly to figure that out and all that. But yeah, thank you all for being here. We do appreciate you guys coming and hanging out and listening to us drone on about all of the awful shit in the world. And we'll be back next week for more of the same. Have a great night. And remember, it could always be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras. Bye, everybody.
Bye.